welcome back to Smoke Break Sports. I am Kev. That guy is Sean B. Sean B. Welcome back. We're taking a little break from basketball, free agency. The NBA is going nuts to talk about some of the real important things in life, like NFL football.
Right.
Sean B.
We're almost there, dude. The Raiders had their first day of with pads on today in training camp. Dude, I'm pumped. Getting there, bro.
So
Season's right around the corner.
Yeah, preseason's about to start. You're not going to have any more football-free Sundays.
It's all right, though. Those are my favorite Sundays.
It's what you need. It's what you need to get
it. Excuse, too. My favorite way to get out of doing stuff. Like, oh, well, dude, I got a game at 1 o'clock. Like, you gotta wait till after 4, bro.
Make it a part. Yeah, dude, it's a part of, it's basically it's a 6-day work week here coming soon.
Right.
And it's like, no, sorry, man, I can't do things on Sundays. Speaking of getting to work, I found out today that the Giants, while they were in pads for the first time, had a little extracurricular activity going on. So a running back was pelted by a linebacker, and star tight end Evan Ingram did not take kindly to it. Words were had, fists were flown. The entire team allegedly got involved in the scrap, with franchise quarterback Daniel Jones ending up at the bottom of a dog pile. Sean B., my question is, how do you feel about this? What are your thoughts when you hear about this happening in the Giants training camp?
I mean, that's probably the most exciting thing that's going to happen for the Giants all year, bro. Like, that's going to be the highlight of their season, even before the season starts. Like, hey, you got to get it in while you can, I think it's the Giants, man. So what I heard was, like, Corey Clement, the running back, got hit by Burrow Peppers pretty hard. And then, like, I heard that, like, what's his name, Evan Ingram or whatever, like, started, through a swing, and then before you know, everybody's fighting. So, I mean, it just kind of sounds like some high school BS. You out there playing tackle 1 yard, and somebody gets hit a little too hard, and before you know, everybody's in a tussle. So I don't know. It's just goofy to me. But I guess Joe Judge. I mean, everybody runs sprints. He was pretty furious about the whole incident. But I don't know. At least people are talking about him. I guess I don't know.
The report I read said that Coach Judge used some unique swear words while his team was running sprints. I would love to know what those unique swear words were.
I would love to as well.
I have to. I hear where you're coming from, but I disagree. I think this is huge for the Giants. I wish there was a study that could back up this. I wish I could back this up with data, but there's something about, like, teams that are so amped up and ready to work that they're getting in fights with their teammates. Like, bro, you're ready. That's you. You want your defense to be that nasty. I know people saying that's their teammates, yada yada. I don't care about that. This is a guy who's fighting for his job. He's not hitting the starting running back. He ain't hitting Saquon like that. Let's be honest. Now, if that were part of the story, I may slightly tweak this answer. But offensive guys versus defensive guys, tensions are high. You're fighting for your job. You won 4 games last season. You're fighting for your pride at this point. I'm into it. I think it's stuff like this. Yeah, it was bad. You don't want your whole team to fight, but that's going to bring people together. If you overcome, it's just like pressure, it'll sink a ship or make a diamond, or however that fucking saying goes. This is going to be good for the Giants. They needed this. They need to be tough, man. There's not been a tough team playing football in New York for 30 years, 10 years. The Giants need to be tough, man. This is what they did. So you're wrong, man. You're wrong. You're soft out here. That's the problem in Las Vegas. They don't fight enough.
Right? It's not enough of a scrap.
Coach Gruden's not using enough unique cuss words, man.
Right? I would love to know what those words was he used. Like, the fact that they described them as unique just leaves my mind to wonder. Like, man, I would love to know. Damn.
At least didn't get him canceled. So, although
Yeah, that's true.
there may be some Giants fans who are wishing that it would. But I digress. The reason that we are here is to talk about my beloved Colts. Wouldn't you know it, Sean? The Colts have quarterback issues once again. It seems like we were just here. What time was it when Andrew Luck had to retire because of a preseason injury? It feels like yesterday. It was...
Well, deja vu going off, bro.
Yeah. And while some Colts fans like me were very, very butthurt at the idea that we would pay any amount of money for Carson Wentz, a quarterback whom the Philadelphia Eagles liked so much they were willing to pay $33 million to potentially play against him. So, of course, naturally, the Colts were like, let's pay that guy because our coach has coached him before. So, I am maybe not as hurt as most Colts fans that Carson Wentz got hurt. Am I surprised? No. Are you kidding me? Are you surprised, Sean, that Carson Wentz got hurt?
I'm not surprised at all now. Not at all.
What's better yet is that this is an old injury from high school that got dislodged. So apparently he's been playing with this broken bone in his foot for years, and it was just running around on the training field is what caused it to get loose. So I guess good thing it happened now as opposed to in the middle of the season. But the Colts could be without him for the next 3 months. So that raised the question, what the hell are these guys going to do? And of course, Sean and I just absolutely love the suspects that were trotted out. So we're here to go over them and figure out just exactly what the Colts' best option is going forward. And let's start with at least the most interesting guy in this group. The prettiest by far. I mean, look at that. You can see his beautiful mustache right by my ear. Gardner Minshew. Sean B., what do you think? Do you like this fit, and how likely do you think it would be that the Colts would be able to swing a trade with the Jags for their backup QB?
Do I like the fit? No. I'm not a big believer in Minshew anyways. I mean, he's a cool-looking dude. Yeah, he looks like the kind of guy you would love to jerk a Coors Light with at a bar or something. You know, sure he'd be a good time to chop it up with. But quarterbacking from a squad, nah, I'm going to pass on that. But do I think it's likely to happen? No, I don't. Because my biggest thing is he plays for the Jags. I mean, everybody and their mama knows that they drafted Trevor Lawrence, so he's most likely going to be day one starter. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, but I mean, I feel like Minshew isn't a bad insurance policy. God forbid Trevor Lawrence gets hurt or something like that. Something freaky happens, and, you know, midway through the season, whatever, and they're like, oh, shit, we need somebody to step in and who kind of knows the offense. Hey, you already got your guy. You started for him. You know, he'll be able to learn this offense through the offseason. He'll get to sit behind Trevor Lawrence, have plenty of time to look at the playbook when he's warming up the bench, you know what I'm saying? So he'll get to familiarize himself a little bit. So, yeah, and plus, on top of that, I don't think they were to ship him anywhere. I don't think it's going to be to a division rival like the Colts. Someone who, you know, a team that's most likely got a better shot than probably any other team besides the Titans, I guess. Like, the Colts and the Titans probably have the best shot of clinching the division. So, the last thing they want to do is ship off Minshew to a team that's probably going to smack their ass quite a bit. So, I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, this is one where, since we don't disagree enough to make it entertaining, I will just approach this as the Colts fan in the room. This would be the option that I'd most like to see. I think Minshew offers the best future prospect of any of the guys we're going to talk about. At least any of the guys the Colts could reach out and acquire at the very least. He has shown flashes. He's definitely got some talent there. He kind of reminds me of like a broke dick Brett Favre, where it's like he's definitely got that gunslinger mentality. The problem is he's been risking it too often and not succeeding enough times. But he broke his thumb last season, so that clearly had to have had an impact. But he's a guy who I could see as a starter, a regular starter at some point in the league, which is not necessarily the case for everyone on this list. I don't believe everyone we're about to talk about has that ability or has that potential at least. So I think Gardner would be the best option for the Colts, but for reasons that you've stated. First of all, I will clarify that the Colts not having a quarterback isn't going to help the Jags get anywhere near a division title. It's a two-team race, and it's Indianapolis and Nashville. It's the Titans and the Colts. The Jags, I will saute this hat.
The Jags were sitting there soaking in their sorrows with the Texans, just out there, just plotting to get you guys, talking about how we can get them next year. It's going to be the story for like the next 5 seasons.
Yeah,
Damn.
Urban Meyer might have that team. Urban Meyer either won't have a job in 3 years or he'll have the Jags fighting for a playoff spot. But this is not then. So I would say Minshew to me is the most exciting guy of the group, but obviously the least likely to make it because I agree with you. While I don't think it makes a difference for this season, there's no way the Jags they aren't walking around likely telling themselves, well, we have no shot at the playoffs. They're probably looking at this and being like, okay, we've got a chance at this division because the Titans are no guarantee either at this point. There's no just you can't just write them in as like, oh, well, if the Colts go down, it's all Titans. I mean, the jury's still out on them.
That's fair. Minshew looks like he could have been an action movie star in the 80s. Looks like he could have competed with Jean-Claude Van Damme for some roles. Could have been in like Death Warrant or something, or Bloodsport 2, or he just looks like he could have been one of those guys. But he also looks like an Uncle Frank. He also looks like somebody my mom would have met at a bar, and I wake up in the morning and he's just walking around the kitchen making scrambled eggs and shit. Like, dude, why are you here, Uncle Frank? But yeah, he just looks like one of those guys.
Long live all the Uncle Franks in the world. But yeah, he definitely looks like he could have played some movie parts. He would have been a much better Steven Seagal than Steven Seagal ever was. So yeah, that's our story on Minshew. We're sticking to it now. This next guy will be the one that I'm sure Sean will be the most excited to talk about because it's the future starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, Marcus Mariota.
Watch him out.
So this was the guy. This was the guy that you said the Colts should go out and get. So I'm gonna let you tell me why. But first, I will say I don't like this. I'll go first this time, and then you go. I'll speak for the Colts fans. We are not a fan. We being me. Not a big fan of the Marcus Mariota idea. I don't. This is where you're going to get mad at me, but he's not. If he's not beating out Derek Carr, I don't want him. I don't see him as a starter in the long term. In which case, I don't really want to trade for him. He's got a 1-year contract. Not a fan here of Marcus Mariota, but I've heard that you have some personal ties with old Marcus, seeing as he's your backup now. So I digress. The floor is yours, sir. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I'm a little befuddled that you would rather just keep Wentz than have Mariota. Like you're more comfortable having Wentz as your starter than taking a swing at Mariota. Like that blows my mind a little bit. I mean, Mariota's definitely done a lot more in the league than fucking Carson Wentz. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. They both are injury prone. That's the thing. They have that common thing going on. So they're both getting hurt constantly. So, I don't know. But here's the thing with Mariota. He gives you a little bit more of a dual threat. He can make plays in the air and on his feet. And he looked hella good, man, last year when he was out there playing for the Raiders. Carr got a groin injury in the game, like late in the season. And Mariota had to come in, and he played extremely well, dude. He had, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, rushed for, over 100 yards, or almost 100 yards, not over 100 yards. But he had, 80-some rushing yards in that game. And he looked well, man. And they probably would have won if it wasn't for the defense. So defense was, lost us a lot of games last year. And that's one of those games in particular where we probably should have got the dub. But defense was playing like they had never played football before and didn't know what the hell they were doing. So that's the story. But anyways, I mean, Mariota's not bad, man. As far as not beating Derek Carr, he was never brought in to really compete with Derek Carr. He was brought in to be a backup in case something does happen to Derek Carr. He was never brought in for a QB competition. That wasn't the plan to begin with. That was never the idea. So the fact that you're trying to dog him for not beating out Derek Carr, he was never put there to beat him out. That was never the fucking plan. So I don't know. But if he was good at Colts and he would compete with Wentz or Foles or whoever they bring in, Huntley, whatever, I mean, dude, I think Mariota's got a fight chance in that squad, bro. I'm just saying. But I don't think it's going to happen because he is kind of expensive. You'd be renting him for a year. You'd be paying him a lot of money for a 1-year rental. So I don't think it's going to happen. But if it did, if I were you, I would be a little more happy than having Carson Wentz as my day one starter or at all. I don't know. Carson Wentz is a scrub. We all know it. So I don't know. But Mariota, I think it's an enticing piece. But again, it's not going to happen. I wouldn't even really stress it. So you'll be fine. You won't have to cry in your Oreos or your Cheerios. I don't know why I said Oreos. Cry in your Cheerios every morning during the football season. It's not going to happen, kid.
Well, I'm much more likely to eat Oreos than Cheerios. But I will say, while I don't think it would be Mariota would still not be my first choice, I will say if it comes back, because Carson's already had his surgery, so if things start to go poorly with his recovery and it's looking more like 12 weeks rather than 5, that's when I think the Colts should really start to consider making a move. And at that point, I think I would not be surprised if Carson Wentz misses half of this season and one of these guys does get picked up or one of these guys who's on the roster shows out and plays well. I wouldn't be surprised to see Carson Wentz not start a game this year. I think if you're Carson Wentz, you really, more than anybody else, you're hoping to heal from this quickly because you already have a reputation of not being able to stay on the field. And you've already, you didn't lose his job to Nick Foles, but he definitely lost his job to Jalen Hurts. And we all know what the issue was with Nick Foles. We're about to get into it a little bit, I'm sure. But there's a history there. So I think if you're Carson Wentz, you're really hoping to be closer to the 5 or 6 week range for recovery. So you're starting by week 3. And the Colts, man, those first 6 games are tough. So they need to be able to eke out at least a couple wins out of there. But moving on, as we just mentioned, Nick Foles is potentially, I think, of all these possibilities we've talked about that are outside the Colts organization currently, if you look strictly at the financials and if you were playing GM mode in Madden, to me this would be the one that makes the most sense because Nick Foles is the 3rd string quarterback for the Bears. They absolutely don't need him, so they're probably the most likely to get rid of him. Hell, he could be cut by the time the preseason starts. I'm not sure. I think he's already going to count against the cap, so I think he'll probably be around, but you never know. He could get cut, and then you don't have to trade anything for him. And if he gets cut, I would say at that point, then the Colts should absolutely try to sign him. But as far as trading for him now, Sean B., what do you think? Is this something that the Colts should entertain? And
I would have never in 100 years imagined you would be advocating to bring Nick Foles to your squad. I never thought this would happen. Kind of blows my mind a little bit.
Neither did I.
But
it's the world we live in, brother.
I can't believe we're having this conversation. This is nuts. But yeah, I hope it doesn't happen. Mainly because, here's the thing. Imagine being Carson Wentz, dude. You're sitting in the locker room, getting tended to by the medical staff, getting you a massage or soaking in the hot tub or whatever. And herein walks Nick Foles, eating a Go-Gurt, drinking a Pepsi-Cola, tap backwards, wearing a tank top. So I'm like, hey, bud, here, take a job, get screwed. It's like imagine being Carson Wentz. Like, that's not, like, you don't deserve that, man. That's effed up. I don't know. I feel bad for the guy. If it wasn't for the injuries, man, they derailed his career. Like, he looked promising coming out. Like, he really did, man. Like, I thought he could be something, but he just hurt all the time. And I just feel bad for the dude. I honestly do. Like, and Nick Foles, he's just the guy I don't want to like him. I don't know what it is. He's just something about him. I don't want to like this guy. I don't want him to. I don't know. So if he came to town, I don't know. I'd feel some kind of way about Carson Wentz. They have a history, like you were saying, and I'm sure a lot of it ain't very good. And I don't know. I think that could just cause some unnecessary tension in the locker room, bringing him in. So I don't really know how that's going to be productive. So maybe they should kind of stay away from that and explore other options, which we're going to talk about here in a second. I think it's probably the best option. So, yeah, man, that's kind of how my train of thought on it. What do you think, though? You think Nick Foles is honestly, do you think that's realistically could happen?
So here's why I like Nick Foles, and it's for some of the same reasons that you just mentioned, but instead of looking at how Carson Wentz might feel about it, which, yeah, how Carson feels about it will certainly be a potential issue. He's shown that in the past. That's how he ended up in Indianapolis. Clearly, nobody likes to lose their job, but Carson might not take the competition so well, but this is one of the few situations in which Nick Foles could succeed. His track record has shown you he can only win in certain situations with the right coach, with the right offense being run. And the last time he won anything of relevance, again, same reason Carson Wentz is here, it was when Frank Reich was calling his plays and he tweaked Philadelphia's offense just for Nick Foles in that playoff run. I think he could do something similar because he's already had to do it. By no means am I saying, man, this is the outcome that I hope for. I'm just saying if it comes down to it and it's week 3, week 4, and Carson Wentz is nowhere near being healthy and the Colts are 0-3, 0-4, it might be worth bringing a guy in because this defense is really good. This offensive line is really good. And they have 3 running backs on this roster that have run for over 1,000 yards before. You can't really afford to just squat on an opportunity like this. The division is weak. You need to make a run at the playoffs with this core group. So Nick Foles is better than a sack of potatoes, which might be all that the Colts have on their roster. So by no means am I saying go get Big Dick Nick right now. But I would not be upset. I wouldn't be upset.
Y'all still got Jacoby, by the way?
No, they let Jacoby walk because Colts brass had a lot of faith in our next eligible bachelor, Jacob Eason, who was a 4th-round pick last season. Started his college career in Georgia, was the starter. His freshman season put up some pretty decent numbers, like 16 touchdowns, 8 picks, not quite 3,000 yards. Hurt his knee in week 1.
Did Matt Stafford go to Georgia, by the way?
Yes, he did. Yep, Matt Stafford. That was exactly what was going to be the what I was going to say. Is he's a poor man's Matt Stafford. He lost his job to Jake Fromm when he was a rookie. When Fromm was a freshman. I'm going to do that. I knew I was going to do that. And so he transfers to Washington, where he just puts up some pretty good stats. 24 touchdowns, 8 picks, over 3,000 yards this time. But, I mean, he made his debut against the likes of Eastern Washington. So the bar was substantially lowered from SEC to Pac-12. But the reason the Colts did not re-sign Jacoby Brissett is that they were high on Eason's potential. The book on him coming out of college was, as we said, he was a potential. He had a similar ceiling to Matt Stafford because of that arm strength, but that he was incredibly raw, not a great decision maker. I mean, he didn't have a lot. He had playing time, but he wasn't consistency in the systems. A whole year off in between the 2 seasons that he did play in college. A lot of people, myself included, thought he would have benefited from a senior season at Washington. But here he is. Also, kids, don't skip college to be a fourth-round draft pick. Like if you're, I don't know who was in his ear telling him he was going to be a first-round pick, but they were wrong. But anyway, before I dive into my spiel, what are your thoughts, Sean, on Eason as far as what the Colts should do?
I mean, I like that option the best, honestly. The way you're talking, Wentz could potentially be back by week 3 or 4. So I don't really see much sense in going out and dropping a bunch of money on a free agent or making a trade for somebody to bring him in as on a rental, deal. You know what I mean? For what? So they can play a few weeks. Like that's goofy. Like if you got Eason, you're high on him. Play the guy, let him get a little bit of experience. And then when he comes back, he can take over the start job. And then you get to have Eason sit back and do some more, observing. Because, I mean, dude, especially when you're saying how raw he is, like, it's probably what he needs is a year or two to soak it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these prospects who come in, honestly, could you benefit from sitting like they used to do back in the day when we were growing up. A lot of these quarterbacks would come in and have to sit a year or two before they would play. But we're so used to just rookies getting thrown in a fire now. Like it's almost rare that a QB gets to sit for a while. So if he gets that opportunity, that's probably the best thing for him because it sounds like he's got, some good intangibles. You talk about the arm strength. I heard he's pretty mobile for his size. Like, I mean, he looked good in the film I've seen on him. Granted, I haven't watched anything on him in a while, but I know when he played for Georgia, I thought he looked pretty solid. And then he went to Washington and he put up some good numbers. And, yeah, I mean, he's cheap. It's cheaper to play your rookie, or not your rookie, but your young quarterback or whatever, and then going out and spending money on to bring somebody in. So, yeah, I'd rather throw in a stopgap that's cheap like Eason, let him get that experience because that's going to benefit him in the long run while you wait for Wentz to come back offensively. That's what I would do personally. I think that's the best move. So, what you think, Kev?
That's 100%. That's why he's last. Of course, we've got our honorable mention, Brett Hundley. We'll save. I'll ask you about him here in a minute.
Who you won a Super Bowl with in Madden 15, by the way? I ain't forget about it, kid.
There it is. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted was you to point out that certain Colts franchises have had a history with Brett Hundley, and just like we're onto something here, viewer, because I also was a 2-time national championship with Old Dominion when my boy Taylor Heineke was leading the way, and guess what? My man got paid this year, so I'm telling you, follow me, follow my Madden Dynasties for more insider tips in fantasy football. But anyway, Brett Hundley, I would love to see it. Never really got a chance to see an offense that was more designed for his play style. He's really not compatible with Aaron Rodgers' play style, so he really wasn't a good backup for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's sort of, there's a reason RG3 backs up Lamar, right? Like, you want someone whose play style is similar. That was always the knock, when people didn't want to admit they were blackballing Colin Kaepernick. That's what they'd say. They're like, well, we need a backup quarterback who matches our quarterback's play style. That's why the Bills taking a flyer on Mitch Trubisky, because he can at least still move the pocket. You don't have to change your playbook if Josh Allen goes out. So there's a bunch of value to having a guy that fits your system. Hundley, I believe, with what I understand about the plan for Carson Wentz, is true, because again, he, like you mentioned with Eason, they're both relatively mobile guys. They're not Tom Brady with his 40 overall speed that somehow Madden puts as a 60. But anyway, so I think Hundley will be a serviceable backup. I would root for it. This was a guy I wanted to see coming out of UCLA. I really wanted Brett Hundley to have a career. It hasn't worked out so far, so I would love it to see it happen with my Colts, even if it's just a little Cinderella, Kelly Holcomb, little half-season stretch that is fond in Indianapolis memories. But back to the man that we were originally talking about, which is Jacob Eason. I 100% believe That's who the Colts are going to go with. That's what they're saying. I mean, naturally, that's what you would say. You have to kind of think about that. They're not going to go out there and say, oh, yeah, the guy we just picked up off the street, that's our guy. They're going to instill that faith in Eason early on because he's their best option in-house. So, of course, they're going to say the right things. But for the same reasons, I mean, there's some potential there. He was a 4th-round pick. It's a second season. If he is complete dog shit, you might as well find out now and be able to move off from him next year, because you don't want to be in another position where your backup quarterback is Curtis Painter or Scott Tolzien. Also, Colts, please quit drafting B-tier Big Ten quarterbacks. Please, for the love of God, don't do that anymore. You might as well see what you have with Eason. And like I said before, the caveat being, if Carson's going to be out for 3 months, I might reconsider. I think you got to start Eason for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and if he's complete dog shit, then you need to start looking for another option. That's when you maybe call Nick Foles, or hell, I mean, shit, start calling Pip Rivers and Andy Luck and see if you can get one of them. See if Coach Phil can hold off coaching high school football for one more season, or at least get a month off. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I wouldn't have been surprised to hear that Frank Reich made that call. But, yeah, Eason's the way to go here. The Colts just need to roll the dice with him. And maybe you get lucky, right? Maybe you got a Kirk Cousins situation coming on. And Eason's going to go earn himself a big contract with somebody else. Or, maybe the Colts have to cut Carson Wentz because he doesn't actually play. Maybe Eason's a stud. That's what I'm rooting for.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I'm hoping happens too, dude. I hope he comes in and kills it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always like those kind of stories, man. Like, you get an underdog quarterback coming out of college, doesn't have the highest grade on him. He comes in, sits for a little bit, he gets his opportunity, he comes in and just shits on everybody. I love it. That's kind of what Tom Brady did. Drew Bledsoe went down and Tom got a chance, and the rest is history. Not saying this dude did anything like Tom Brady, but I'm just saying, it happens. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
So it's a scenario that very well could happen. So I'm just saying, that's kind of what I'm rooting for. That's what I hope goes down. Because Carson would say the answer, bro. It's not. People should get comfortable having him as your starter. Now, he's not the answer. So if you guys can get someone like Easton to come in and he kills it, hey, that's going to be good for y'all. I'm hoping that's what happens, but it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say what goes down to Indy, bro.
You can hope in one hand and shit in the other. So there you have it.
That might be my grandma. My grandma used to say that a lot growing up. It's like one hand and shit in the other. So see what's good for.
And let me know when you have Carson Wentz. So there you have it, folks. The new Colts quarterback moving forward is going to be Jacob Eason, as it should be. And we will be very shocked and hurt if any of these guys get traded for and or signed. But, of course, I'll be here to report on it. And Sean B will likely be here at some point again to talk about Raiders. I've got so many NBA questions for you. We'll save them for a future time. But, oh, man,
I think
it's
we
heating
definitely
up.
need to chat NBA, especially with the free agency, the way it's been going, dude. You and I definitely need to chat it up about some NBA for sure. I thought about that earlier today. I was looking at some of the moves that happened today, not even compared to what has happened in the last couple of days. Like, yeah, we definitely need to talk it up for sure. So that'll probably be happening soon.
So make sure you punks subscribe so you're ready. You know when it happens. Sean B, thank you.
So I want to, before we wrap it up, I just want to give a shout out to our other co-host, Nate. Just want to say fuck you, Nate. So you know, asshole. Go Kentucky. Go Big Blue. I just wanted to get that in there.
Like and subscribe. Follow at Smoke Break Sports. And there's nothing. I can't top that. I'm not even going to try. Good night.